Hi there, everybody. I am Frank Clark, and welcome to our Blab Show interview with Bonnie Frank on the power of live streaming. Welcome, Bonnie.
Hi, thanks, Frank. I'm glad to be here.
I'm thrilled to have you. I've been following you almost as long as I've been on Blab for about 3 months now. So I'm really excited to get a chance to get to know you a little bit better here, one-on-one, and share some of your knowledge, wisdom, experience of live streaming here with our Blab community.
Great.
So I always like to start with, kind of like an origin type of question and give this people a sense of, first of all, Bonnie is a live streamer extraordinaire. So Bonnie does live streams like 3,500 times a minute or something like that.
Oh, yes. That's at last count. That was it.
She's on Twitter. She's on Periscope. She's on Meavy. She's on here on Blab, obviously. On Facebook Live. Are you there yet?
No, not yet. I don't have it yet.
Facebook Live. And what about the, what's this other one? Did you hear about this one, Go Live With? I just heard about that this morning.
Yep, not yet.
No. So you can sign up to claim your name before they go live on Go Live With. But, you do what, about 35 live streams a week? Is that right?
Yeah, I do between 30 and 35. That's 30, true. 35.
And you're training people how to build their business and grow their business through live stream, and you do a lot of other things in teaching and helping people here in these live streams, and especially on Blab where I've seen you. So how did you get started? And I know you started out in teaching. So why don't you start with how you got involved in teaching, and then how you transitioned from that to doing this?
Okay, so I always and only wanted to be a teacher, always. That started in second grade, and then when I got to fifth grade, I wanted to become a fifth grade teacher, and that's exactly what I did. So I taught fourth grade, fifth, sixth, seventh, then I went on and I taught college, and then after that, I started my own business. So I loved teaching. I absolutely loved it. And I love teaching people, anybody. And so now that I have my own business, I have created a business where I teach people. I teach people every single day, and I love it. And so, a great day for me is when I can teach somebody. So literally every day is a great day.
And you do a great job of it. I've watched you on a lot of your blabs, and you do an outstanding job. Really, kudos to you. And my son is now in fifth grade, so I'm sorry he didn't get to have you as a teacher. Although you're you're far from here. We're in New York, and you're out in St. Louis there, right?
Yep. Well, fifth grade is my favorite. It's not going to be your favorite as a parent because I know. Because when they come into fifth grade, they come in as wide-eyed fourth graders, basically.
Right.
And then somewhere in there, in that year, they're a fifth grader, and then they leave as cocky sixth graders. And I love that. So, yeah, you're not going to love it.
Yeah, it's happening already.
yeah, it gets better in 10 to 15 years. It'll be fine.
Those are the times when you wish time would go faster. I mean, I know it already goes by too fast as it is, but some days, boy.
Right, exactly.
I'm going to ask everybody if you could tweet this out on the upper left corner of your screen. I think I point over here. Yeah, over there.
Yeah, point the other way.
Oh, okay. Point over there. If you could tweet this out and post it out on Facebook, we'd appreciate it. Let your peeps know you're out here on Blab. So, but can you go into a little bit more and clarify how you made that transition? Because you were teaching, now you're still teaching essentially, different audiences obviously, but what made you, leave the teaching profession and teaching every day in a school system or in a college to moving over to teaching in this type of environment, live streaming environment?
Yeah, so I was teaching the university for a few years until I had my second child. And then I looked around at the department and everybody was divorced. And I thought, not a good sign. So, and I was fully ready to get my PhD. I was very, very excited about it. I had already started. Right. But then I was like, this is telling me no. I didn't like the look of that landscape. So I stopped. And then I stayed home for a while, quote unquote. I just did a lot of volunteering and a lot of consultant work. And then I went back to middle school. And at that point, Common Core had already been created. Right. And I was out of that within 3 years. Common Core is awful.
Yeah, so I know way too much about it because my sister is a teacher in North Carolina. My brother is a teacher in here in New York, and my sister-in-law is a teacher also here in New York. So I hear all about it. My wife is a librarian, so I hear from her side of it as well.
Yep.
So it's been a bit of a disaster, to say the least. One of my best friends.
That's a nice way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah, one of my best friends is a teacher in the high school that we both attended together, where we got to know each other.
Wow, that's neat.
And he was the representative for the school to go up to Albany to understand a lot of the stuff as it was coming down. And he's a math teacher, right? Very smart
so was I.
Mathematician. Okay. And he was trying to unpack the numbers that Albany was presenting him with and explain them back to the teachers. And he couldn't explain them to anybody because they didn't make any sense.
Right.
I mean,
I was going to say, and shortly after getting to Albany, he realized that was a waste of a trip. But I thought that would be too negative. But I'm sure that was.
No, he explained it to me, like how they think, and I'm like, but that doesn't make any sense. He's like, exactly.
No, it doesn't.
And I'm suffering from the effects of it now, and watching my son going through the struggles with it. And it's, I almost opted out last year, and I'm tempted to this year because it's just, I don't believe in the process.
No, there is no process. There's nothing that makes sense. And I don't want to spend the whole time talking about education, because I could talk about education until we are all blue in the face, and it's not going to make a darn bit of difference. But I will tell you from experience, be very careful if you do opt out and you choose to go the private school route or homeschooling or whatever, because some of the private schools have started to adopt Common Core standards. So don't assume, never assume anything anyway, but don't assume that just because now you've opted out and you're doing private education that they won't be using Common Core.
Well, I was talking more about just opting out of the standardized testing.
Oh, I gotcha. Well, the teaching's the same, so that's not going to do anything.
No,
your kid's still going to be miserable.
Yep. Yeah, I know.
So that's not going to do anything.
But he just wouldn't have to be judged for it unfairly with a ridiculous system.
True, but he's still going to be sitting in it.
Yeah,
so.
I know. No, I know. It's like,
anyway,
a fish doesn't know it's in water, right? So let's talk about now what you're doing today with teaching live streaming. So like I said, you're here on Blab, you're on Periscope, you're on Mevi now. You were one of the very first adopters on Mevi. Talk about what you teach people to do on these streams, and then I want to ask you about the different platforms.
Okay, so yes, I am on all those platforms, and I do coaching, and I have live streaming. I do coaching, and I have masterminds on live streaming, but I also do coaching and masterminds that have nothing to do with live streaming. So I help people make money. I help people build their businesses. Sometimes it's with live streaming, and sometimes it's totally without live streaming. So I just want to put that out there, but. So what do I tell people to do on live streaming? Well, first of all, I do tutorials about Periscope, about Blab, and about Mevi on those platforms, and also off of those platforms and other places. But mostly I teach them how to use it efficiently and how to use the platforms efficiently and effectively, because anybody, Frank, come on. It takes 20 seconds to start a Blab. Let's face it, right? It's not real hard. Thank you, Blab folks.
Thank you. I just thanked Sean personally. I was on a Blab with him before.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Oh, my God. The best 12 people I've never met. Yes.
I tell you a quick story. I was struggling to create. I was trying to put together my video content for a website, and I was trying to produce scripts, and I was, practicing, rehearsing in front of a camera, and I was pulling my hair out, and I wasn't getting any closer to my goal. And I even had a professional video guy who's a close friend who was helping me, right? And he helped me get my screen and my lighting and all this good stuff, which was great. Because when it came time to actually do it, I just couldn't get the script that I was happy with, or the rehearsal. And somebody told me about Blab. It was actually at an event I did at Carolyn Rim. Grateful Tony was telling me about it, or she was telling me about Periscope. And then a month later, I saw her at an event in New York, and I was telling her I'd heard somebody else talking about Blab, and she said, "Oh, now I'm on Blab. Blab is the best." I'm like, all right, 2 people telling me about it. I got to go check this thing out. Mm-hmm. I hit that button, start a new Blab, tested it, and all of a sudden people start joining. I'm like, "What's this?" I'm like, "This is cool." Next thing you know, here we are. 30 days later, I had 3 or 4 interviews under my belt. Now, 3 months later, I've got 20 or 25. I couldn't get one. I couldn't get one piece of video content I was happy with. Now, thanks to Blab, I've got tons of it. It's great.
Exactly. It is. I love it. And I love the people who run Blab. Definitely. So
we're just going to have a chat for a while first, but I'll talk about letting you in later. All right. Type a question in the chat so we get to know what you're looking for. That would be very helpful.
Yeah. And guys, if you type a question, if you put /Q and then put a space and then type your question, then it'll be illuminated like a question. It'll be easier to see it as opposed to the rest of the comments. So what do I tell people to do on live streaming? I tell them to be themselves. I tell them to provide value every single time and to be consistent. I mean, those are the big 3. So everybody knows that I talk with my hands. I do. I can't not do it. I'm going to sit on my hands for a few minutes and it's going to be awful. And okay, so that was it. I give up. It was 2 seconds. So I talk with my hands. I wear dangly earrings. I wear these glasses because I can't see a damn thing without them. And everybody knows that, right? They know that from Periscope. They know that from Blab. They know that from Evie. Guess what? If I meet you at Starbucks, I'm exactly the same. And that's the beauty of live streaming, and that it truly does not matter what platform you're on. It really doesn't, guys. I'm on all 3 because I have 3 different audiences on each I have different audience on each platform. So, and my business is built off of live streaming. So it just makes sense that I would be on more than one. But first of all, you can live a perfectly happy life without ever stepping foot on any live streaming platform. You really can. You can be a very happy person. Well, guess what? We all were once, right? Now we're all on Blab. So I'm very happy you guys are all here. I know, Robin, I don't know if I can. That's family time in the evening, and that's why I can never do it, and I apologize. I don't think I can. Sorry. Robin lives in St. Louis, and so they're having a meetup, and it's in Creve Coeur, and that's where I live is Creve Coeur, and anyway, I can never get out of the darn house. So
is it a live streaming meetup?
No, it's just like I know. Anyway, so all right, I digress.
Well, hey,
so
while you're digressing, I'll bring Andre's question into the chat because we can talk about that. Besides the obvious of providing value, how do you grow an audience starting from 0 on Blab?
You do it exactly the same way as you do everything else. You provide value and you're consistent. And Andre, if people know that you are consistently bringing high value broadcasts and you're talking about whatever it is that they want to hear, they'll come and they'll keep coming back. And guess what? They'll tell your friends about you. I only talk about 4 things. That's it. I mean, okay, everyone knows my kid plays basketball, but I talk about 4 things. I talk about business. I talk about social media. I talk about marketing, and I talk about live streaming. That's it. That's all anyone comes to me for. Don't come to me for meditation. I don't know how to do it. I can recommend coffees. That would probably be a fifth, but I don't tend to do that. But I could.
You and Jonathan should do a show about it.
Exactly. I know. Exactly. We'll be fighting for that coffee sponsor. So, it's just, you need to consistently talk about what you're passionate about. And I don't know what you're passionate about, but if you were passionate about something that I were interested in, I guarantee you I would find you, I would follow you, and I would keep coming back.
Absolutely.
That's the way it works.
The other part of it is what you just said, which I want to unpack a little bit, is you would find them and follow them and get your content. So you want to be looking around on Blab for content that you're interested in and get to know the people who are talking about topics that you like to talk about. So if you see Bonnie out there talking about live streaming and you want to get to know more about live stream, that's exactly what I did, because I was like, I didn't know from Blab or Periscope or whatever. And here's Bonnie sitting there just patiently teaching newbie after newbie, asking questions that you've probably answered 1,000 times, right? And that was sort of like my start on Blab, is getting to know Bonnie. And here we are 3 months later now, we're doing a Blab together, which is great. And thank you, Bonnie, for all that you've been doing and helping me get up the learning curve, and helping so many other people who I'm sure are in the audience get up the learning curve. But find people like Bonnie who are like giving value, right? Follow them and then start to engage with them. Ask questions in the chat, right? Get to know them, follow them, and then follow them also on Twitter. So it's a 2-step process. If you look at the Bonnie Frank's name, underneath it says @BonnieFrank. If you click on that, you can follow her on Blab, but then there's a little bird, and you can follow her also on Twitter to that little bird. So it's like 4 clicks or something like that.
Right, and you can do the same thing with everybody. Like you could go straight across.
Yes.
Those little pictures.
Up on the top. And actually, if you click on the eyeball icon all the way over in the corner to the far left of all these people, there's an eyeball. If you click on the 18, then they all come up, and you can follow them all one after another. Also, Blab added a new feature where when you come into a room, it says, oh, you aren't following Bonnie Frank and Frank Clark yet. Do you want to follow them both? And you can just click yes. So then with one click, you can follow everybody who you're not already following, which is
great. I really like that. And that will happen just for the people who are in the 4 seats. It doesn't happen for everyone in the chat, but it does happen for the people in the seats. But, and then Andre had another, am I echoing, or is it just I'm hearing the echo? Do you hear the echo?
I don't hear an echo for you.
Okay. So Andre asked, how will they come? If I have amazing content and I'm consistently on whatever, how will they come and find me? So, and that's a really good question. So it's really not a case of build it and they will come. No. It's not. It's a case of build it, promote the hell out of it, and they'll find you. And then it's up to you to be good enough to make them want to come back. And then to be even better than that and make them so that they never want to miss one. That's what you want.
Right.
So to give you an example, so yesterday I created a graphic for this show, and I put it on, so between yesterday and today, let me say, I put it on LinkedIn twice. I put it in my LinkedIn group that I run twice. I put it in my 2 Facebook groups that I run twice since yesterday. I put it on Twitter about 20 times. I put it in Facebook groups that have to do with Blab and Facebook groups that have nothing to do with Blab. There you go.
So
and I periscoped about it.
Yeah, and I was trying to promote it as well. So I posted it. I posted multiple times on Twitter. I retweeted Bonnie's tweets about it. I also posted it in Facebook groups and on my Facebook page. And then I was on Blab last night and this morning talking about Bonnie, either in the chat or talking about it. I was on screen with Jonathan this morning, and I mentioned that I was going to be doing the interview with you. So a lot of Jonathan Tripp's followers, hopefully you're, followed us over here today. And then I was on a Blab with Sean Purry, and while we were waiting for Sean to come on, I think I mentioned this Blab that I was doing today with you. So,
that's great.
Yeah, so right. I'm out there trying to promote, and I'm trying to step up my game on Blab, watching Bonnie, watching Jonathan, watching people like that, watching what they're doing, watching Tim Gillette, watching what they're doing, and mimic what they're doing that's getting results to grow my brand.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that's what you have to do. And, you know, as much as you put any content out there, let's just put live streaming to the side for a minute. As much as you put anything out on social media, you can write blog posts about it. You can do videos. You can do all of these things. And there are still going to be people who say, oh my God, I had no idea you did that. Right? And those people might be on your list, but guess what? Let's not fool ourselves. Everybody on our list is not reading every newsletter. And even if they open every newsletter, which is doubtful, even if they open every one, they probably don't read every word of any of them, let alone everyone. So just know that you need to promote the heck out of it. And then you just pray. And then you just, because you've done everything you can do by that point.
Yeah. The first blab that I did, I think there was maybe one person on it. So I'm like panicking because I'm trying, and I was trying to do it, and I didn't understand the power of the conversation. I was, you know, in the very first day, just trying to figure it out. So I'm just on the screen talking, and then somebody comes in the room, and I'm like, oh, somebody's here. Like, what do I do now? Hey, do you want to come on? just trying to figure it out. But as you watch other people do their shows who are professional, like Bonnie, like Tim Gillette, like Jonathan Tripp, or like Brian Fanzo, people like that, you start to know, you know, okay, follow them, follow the people that they're following, and then watch and learn from them and how they're doing it. And a lot of folks like Bonnie and Jonathan are talking about how they promote it on Facebook, or how they promote it on Snapchat or Instagram or the other social media platforms. So yeah, when you're building your brand, you need to cross promote across all of the platforms. But watch and learn from Bonnie. She's here every day teaching you how to do this on 3 different platforms, 35 times a week.
I really do other things. I swear I do. I periscoped yesterday when I was picking up my Smoothie King for the family, and when I was picking up Qdoba for the family. So now you know what we did post Sam's basketball. And I had people who came on were like, oh my God, you're not in your living room, because this is always the background. And now I was in my car. So I'm like, yeah, I swear, I do leave my house occasionally. So yes.
I jumped on one time with Jonathan after I'd gotten to know him a little bit after we did our Startup Con Live. And I was out, like, you know, dressed casual in my winter coat outside. He's like, oh my God, I've never seen you not.
You have a coat.
I go outside.
Right. Exactly. It's crazy. I know. It's very funny. So now Video Guy asked, and I just want to answer this. Nobody knows how many people are on Blab, because Blab has not released any of the statistics about that kind of stuff.
And they're not going.
Well, at least not right now.
Not right now. They're building, and Sean was talking about that this morning. They're trying to grow at 7% a week in terms of user base, and they're hitting their numbers consistently, which is a very massive rate of growth if you think about that. 7% a week.
Even if you don't think about it, it still is. Yeah, it's very amazing.
You compound that month over month and year over year. That's huge. So they'll get to scale very, very quickly with that type of growth rate. Mm-hmm. But they're not saying for now how many people they're getting, but they're looking to do this organically by word of mouth through other social media for people like us here and people in the audience, promoting it on the social media platforms.
Yeah. So, and Video Guy, the debate question was a stupid one, so I deleted it, as I deleted your question right now. So
I only put up the video question about the debate because they were talking about that on the Blab with Sean. There was a PR person and a marketing person, and I'm sorry I can't remember your names right now because I'm a little nervous here with Bonnie. But they were talking about trying to get Donald Trump and Ted Cruz on for a debate. So,
well, that would be great. I mean, when Blab first started, I said then, I'm like, hello, politicians, somebody please have the guts. I could say another word, but I'm not going to. Have the guts to actually do a real debate, not the ones you see on TV. I'm sorry, those aren't real. After Nixon was sweating with Kennedy, they stopped being real. I got news for you. So yes, we all watch. No, they're not real. And I would love to have a real debate on here. I don't care really who's debating. I don't care if they're a politician or not, but I said politicians because that was, made sense at the time. So I would love to see people debate without their PR people with them, without their copywriter writing the speech for them, without all that stuff. Real live questions in real time, that would be great. And that's one of the big things about live streaming, because it proves that you know your stuff, or it proves that you don't, because there's no copywriting. I didn't know what Frank was going to ask me. And when I bring people on my show, I don't let them know what I asked them. And I didn't ask Frank what questions, because it makes it real. It makes it an actual conversation, which is much more compelling to watch than, oh yeah, that was question number 3. Let me go ahead and provide my canned answer for that. No one wants to see that.
Which is exactly what politicians do.
Yep.
Which is why they're not so interesting to watch, because you watch them once and they're just echoing the same sound bites over and over and over again. It's like, God, is there any dimensionality there?
Well, let's face it, the best people don't go into politics. I would never want my children to go into politics. Never.
Absolutely.
So let's just go from there. All right. What else you got for me, Frank?
What was the other question that we were starting to talk about? I think I just want to make sure we're addressing all the questions.
Lottie asked, do you guys think Sean will turn Blab to pro, paid, and then basic free to enable private Blabs for live streaming? That's interesting, because Blab, everybody keeps asking about private Blabs. And Sean said right away, no private Blabs, never, ever, period. That's it. So they always wanted Blab to be a public platform. And I love that. So if you want to do a private situation, you can do a private Periscope, on Periscope, free or paid. You can do a peer.in, a peer.in, if you want to.
Yeah, which is what they recommend.
Mm-hmm. Or you can just do it here and do a public. So, there's lots of options. I use Zoom for all of my masterminds and my coaching, whether it's one-on-one or group, and I use it for webinars. So you can do that in terms of a private thing too. There's loads of opportunities, but this is public. So that's a good question.
Yeah, so Zoom is great for, there's different applications, and even Sean said he uses Periscope, right? Because it's good for certain things. So there's different platforms for different purposes, and you want to use the best one. Zoom is much better for webinars and private group conversations for larger groups. A peer.in is great because it mimics Blab, and you can have like 3, 4, 5, 6 people in there, and it feels like you're in a Blab. So it's also great for doing, we were using it for our virtual green room on Startup Con Live.
Mm-hmm.
And here's a question, how well known is Blab in the US?
Well, Blab is really new. Blab is really new. Guys, think about it. Blab is newer than Periscope. Newsflash, Periscope's not a year old. So anybody...
Right. February came out, right?
March 26th is when Periscope came out. And I didn't get on Blab until August 26th. No, August 3rd. August 3rd is when I got on Blab. And it had been out for a while before then. Now, was it out as much as it is now before then? No, it wasn't. But still, it was around for a while before then. So this is all super new. And any of us, guys, anybody who is on live streaming, any live streaming platform today is a pioneer. All of us, because this is all so incredibly new. And guys, beta means not finished yet, right? And well, let's face it, Periscope's out of beta and things still aren't perfect. So, beta, Blab is in beta, Meevy's in beta, the Full Scope app is still in beta, and I use those things every day. So
I heard somebody saying on a Blab the other day, it's like, look, Microsoft is still in beta.
I know. Microsoft. Yeah, people love to say that. Right. They say it never got out of beta. Exactly.
So
bunch of haters. So will there be ads on Blab? I don't know. I'm sure they want to monetize it at some point, but they're not in a rush, which is to all of our benefits.
Yeah, they're getting great traction, and they know what they've got and where they're headed. They've got a clear vision, and just staying on that growth path. Sean was saying it today on the Blab. It's like, what's great about a network, and this is true of any network, and what's powerful about a network is when you get to scale, because the power of the network grows with the size of the network. So the bigger and faster you can build the network, the more useful it becomes for so many different applications. Like, nobody probably thought Facebook when it was in college dorms was going to blow up into what it became today.
Yep.
It was like a silly little thing for college students.
Exactly. To find each other and date. That's how Facebook all started.
So
yep. And when I got on Periscope on July 3rd, so Periscope had been around for a while before I got on. Periscope was always intended, and this is a quote from Periscope, to be raw video footage in the here and now. I never intended to use Periscope as raw video footage in the here and now, and I never have. That's not the way I want to use it. I want to use it for business. Guess what? It works great. I got news for you. So does Blab, so does Maybe, so would any live streaming platform, because of the title, the power of live streaming. So the fact that people are able to see you and hear you and participate in the conversation is so very powerful. So you know exactly what Frank looks like, whether or not he has a winter coat on. You know exactly what he looks like.
Only Jonathan knows what I look like with a winter coat on.
Right. Yes. Now he's got inside information. You know what he sounds like. You know what kind of jokes he makes, right? You know what kind of laugh he has. So you get to see a real human being, as opposed to somebody who produces a YouTube video or a video on Vimeo, or somebody who puts up a Facebook post and a static image, right? You get to actually talk to a real live human being who's going to sound like a real live human being, because there's no edit. There's no edit button. There's no fast forward. There's no rewind. I don't have my PR person. First of all, I don't have a PR person. But if I did, they couldn't be behind me whispering in my ear. No. You ask me a question, I'm going to answer the question from me, from my head. That's the way live streaming works. That's why it's so powerful.
Yeah, it's in the moment. And because it's in the moment, it makes it real. It makes it, authentic, which everybody's looking for, right? And I know people have been saying, oh, authenticity, blah, blah, blah. It's overused already. But that's what people are looking for. They want to know who you are, and they want to hear, Bonnie talking about her son's basketball game. And they want to hear, you're living a real life. You're not like often some perfect la-la politician land where everything is perfectly scripted and carved out. And, the backgrounds always have the American flag in there, right?
Right. They always have the pin. I'm like, oh, please. You never used to wear that. Come on.
The union pin. It's got to be the union pin, right?
Oh, it's so crazy.
So, yeah, I mean, the world is a messy place. And, we're all of us part of that messy world. And sometimes, I'm going to be outside in a winter jacket. And sometimes somebody's going to show up on Blab in their pajamas. It's what's happening, right? But that makes it interesting. So it's
exactly.
It's like an intimate invitation into somebody's home and life and world, right?
That's exactly right.
And because of that, though, what that's doing is accelerating development of relationships. So I probably never would have met Bonnie had it not been for Blab and live streaming. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine why I would have met a teacher in St. Louis or a former teacher in St. Louis, except for the power of this media. Mm-hmm. I would have not met probably most of the people that I know on Blab.
I was on 10 platforms, 10 different social media platforms for 14 months with nobody knowing me. I got on Periscope 6 days later. I landed my very first client, and it has erupted from there. So, yeah, that's the power of live streaming. It makes it so that not only can I get to know Frank, I can basically, we're in the same room, right? And I can talk with him. I can ask him questions. He can respond. He can ask me questions. So, yeah, you get to find the like-minded people a whole lot easier and a whole lot faster. And live streaming gets at the know, like, and trust factor in my opinion, exponentially faster than any other social media platform out there. You take any live streaming platform, I don't care which one you're taking, you take any live streaming platform and you put it up against any other classic social media platform, and if used effectively, you will get to that know, like, and trust factor, which means you're going to get clients faster than any other social media platform.
I just popped this question out. Michael's asking a couple of times, what do I do? And I mentioned I'm an entrepreneur. So right now I'm a real estate developer working with a group of partners to build a large 32-acre sports complex in Westchester County, New York. I also co-founded a medical device company for which I raised over $50 million, and that's now publicly traded on the NASDAQ. Last month, I was fortunate to ring the opening bell on NASDAQ as a result, which was very exciting for me. And I have a coaching and consulting practice where I work with companies, a lot of startups, to educate them and bring them along the process. And how do you raise capital? How do you go to market? How do you build a company, a management team, and things like that? So I hope, Michael, that clarifies for you a little bit about what I do. If you want to learn more about me, go to frankclarkcoaching.com, and I'll send you some information, and then you can stay connected. But you were asking a lot, so I just wanted to get past that so we can talk about Bonnie.
And we love Michael because he knows everything tech. So, and I'd probably like you even if you didn't, but there you go. So what was I going to say? Do you know about the Field House?
We're building something called the Westchester Field House. Is that what you're talking about?
Okay, so this is called the Field House. Write it down now.
You know me too well, Bonnie.
Yes, write it down right now. See, if I said now, I knew he would. Yeah. So yeah, write down the Field House. It's in Indiana, and you want to look at that, and you want to find out as much as you can about that, because that's exactly what you want to build.
Yeah, we may have looked at that already, but I will look at that again. It's not because I'm familiar with a lot of these around the country. I mean, there's a huge complex down in Georgia that's like multi-sport that's massive. And we've looked at the one that Bo Jackson built associated with, and the one that Michael Jordan was associated on the basketball side. So we've looked at a number of these things and have a pretty sound idea of what we are seeking to build. But thank you for that, because I will definitely do that.
Absolutely.
You have one in St. Louis, by the way, like an indoor sports complex?
It's awful. I'm not even going to say it.
Really?
It's awful. And so we've got, and I'm not going to say because it's nothing's finalized, so I'm not going to say, but there are some former NBA players who reside in St. Louis who are looking to create what you're talking about in St. Louis. They just haven't started it yet. So
I'll just post the website if people want to learn more about the sports complex.
Yeah, no, that's great.
It's Game On 365.
Oh, I love that name.
.com. Game on, baby.
I love that, Frank. Oh, that's great.
All right, so let's get back to talking about live streaming. And
okay. Oh, is that what we were talking about? I thought we were okay. Yeah.
And if somebody had questions, obviously /Q space and type your question in, or if somebody that we know and recognize wants to pop in. This point, we've been on for about 45 minutes, so. Bonnie, if you recognize some folks from your audience, we'd love to have you come on and join the conversation.
Yeah, anyone who pops in, who wants to pop in, you're more than welcome. Love to have you. And one of the things that I have said is I feel very strongly that anybody can build up any business on live streaming, any business. So I don't care what your business is. I don't care what services you have or what products you have. I feel very strongly and confidently that you could build that business with live streaming. I've never purchased an ad. I've never boosted a post ever. So, and I don't have to yet. So I'm not going to. I'm only using live streaming and other classic forms of social media. And guys, I got to tell you, all my clients come from live streaming. Every single one. Every single one.
Tell the story, and I love this, what you found when you first went onto Periscope versus what you were doing before that, because you've told that a bunch of times.
Yeah. So when I first got on Periscope, I went on specifically with the mindset of using it for business, because I had done consistently a big fat 0 on 10 other social media platforms. So I'm like, all right, I'm giving number 11 a shot. And you know what? If that sucks, I'm going to give number 12 a shot too, because I'm going to keep going. Basically, up to this point, well, up until I would say about September, up until about September, October, my husband was coming to me about every 2 weeks. I could almost clock it. And I'd be busily, furiously typing away on the computer, trying to, be successful in some way at some point. And he would come to me and he would recommend yet another thing that Bonnie could do to make money instead of doing what she was doing, which clearly was not making any money. And I would nod and I would smile and I would say, okay. And then I would just go back to doing what I was doing, because I had absolutely no intention of not succeeding.
Right.
So I didn't doubt my abilities. I just didn't know how to make it work yet. So then I got on Periscope and I knew that I really wanted to gain a foothold. I knew that it wasn't that old and I really wanted to gain a foothold. So when I started on Periscope, I did between 3 and 7 scopes a day, every single day for a long time. And I only decreased that after I started to gain a foothold on Blab. And then I was like, okay, there's one me. Let's be real here. So I did more like 3 times a day, and I've stuck with 3 times a day. And then I'm on Blab once a day, and then Meavy once a day. So that I can handle. That's okay. But keep in mind, I only talk about 4 things. And so when people come to me, they know exactly what I'm going to be talking about. Not only do I put it out there all over social media, but they've got a 25% chance of just picking the right one, because I only talk about 4. And I make sure that I'm very, very consistent in what I do. I also, if somebody recommends, hey, can you talk about whatever? Like yesterday, somebody said, can you talk about Instagram? Sure, I talked about Instagram. And I gave myself an Instagram audit, like Subi Zimmerman gives her live viewers an Instagram audit. So I said, if Subi were looking at my account, which I know she's already looked at, and said, I got questions about that. She's now my business coach, so I'm sure it's going to look better at some point. But she's like, I don't know what you're doing over there. I'm like, I know that. That's why
I hired you.
Right. One of the reasons. Subi does amazing things in many ways besides Instagram. I actually didn't hire her to focus on Instagram.
What's her specialty? She does many.
Pardon me?
What is her specialty? You said she does.
Well, her specialty is Instagram. My concern is not Instagram. Instagram is gravy for me. My concern is scaling. My concern is doing what I want to do more efficiently and effectively. You can always do something better. So, and Subi is the only one, Subi Zimmerman, she is the only one I have ever met who is actually more straightforward than I am. And I was like, this is the woman I want to be coaching me, because she is no BS. I am no BS. She has no time for that, nor do I. So I'm like, you know what? As harsh as maybe some of her advice may be, we're going to start in, I think, a couple weeks. I don't care, because I need to be hearing it. I need to have help and be hearing it. And I've always said every coach does not need a coach. I fully believe that. However, I want a coach now. So that's why I hired her. So, and I've only before that had 1 month of group coaching, because it was all I could afford. I started my business with no money and no support. And now I have money. Still have no support. So anyway, so I had 1 month of group coaching, and I hired the wrong person. She was very, very woo-woo and said the word vulnerable quite a bit. It got to the point where at the end of my month, I could not hear that word anymore. You can imagine, like, seriously, Bonnie, you hired her? It was all I could afford, honestly. Obviously, I was desperate. So there you go. Yeah. So now I'm off to Subi. So hopefully you guys will all see great changes. I hope so. But in the meantime,
why don't you jump on in here if you want?
Oh, absolutely. But in the meantime, yeah, so I've never boosted a post. I've never paid for an ad, but live streaming is as powerful as you want it to be. It really is. Yes, Jonathan, we're both sure. Why is he asking? That's just silly.
Come on, Jonathan.
Silly boy.
There we are.
You know, I keep hearing this, that you can make money online. Scheme.
I put your question in, Jonathan.
I've heard this. There's rumors, right? But no, seriously, I had put in the topic. By the way, good morning, Bonnie. It's good to see you again.
Hi. It's afternoon, honey.
It is. I've been. Well, I guess it was.
Jonathan only got 5 hours of sleep, so
I just go.
Okay.
I just go. No, I want to know: do you blog in any format, whether it's live stream blog where you have a topic, or do you blog and post it that way? Because I know you run live stream coaching and masterminds, and you do a lot of these things. But do you actually just blog, even if it's written? Slide shares, whatever. Do you blog?
Mm-hmm. I do. I do not blog nearly as much as I used to, because you see what I do a lot of my day. But I do have a blog. That's my latest blog post. And I wrote a bit about do numbers really matter? And that was a blog that I did yesterday. I mean, a blab that I did yesterday.
Okay. Yeah.
So yes, I do. Sometimes I write without having a blab in there. Sometimes I write without having a Periscope in there. Sometimes I actually just write. So yeah, I do. But I consider my blog as total gravy. I do not look, nor do I expect to make money off my blog. Now, okay. I came from a situation where I absolutely wholeheartedly depended on my analytics and was paid by brands to blog about them. So that's what I did before I started my own business. But, and so, I used to blog at least once a week and up to once a day sometimes. But now maybe once every couple weeks. I just consider it gravy.
Okay. I just wasn't sure, because I know you do so much, you do produce so much content, and I know a good chunk of that, where that goes. But I just wasn't sure for you how you do a little bit of a balance. I know some people are super strict. They're like, okay, it's Monday at 8:47, blog goes out. Like, they're doing it. It's now. They're doing whatever it takes to get it. And other people are kind of like, I don't feel like doing it this month. I'm like, what? But you produce enough content, and I know that that is not the aim and the guide rails that you put on your business. But I kind of wanted to hear your thoughts on that. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, what I do is not what I tell my clients to do. Mm-hmm. So what I tell my clients to do is to blog. If you're going to blog, if you're going to really do it, you need to do it once a week. You really do. Right. Mm-hmm. Because if you want to have readership, if you want to have people anticipate your blog coming out, if you want to have people actually read your blog posts, you need to be doing it at least once a week.
Consistency.
Now, people see my face and hear my voice a lot of times a day, probably more times than they would even want to, right? I'm very accessible. So that's why I really don't care about blogging once a week and consider it gravy, because I'm not I don't build my following from my blog. I build my following from my live streaming. So do what I say, not what I do in terms of blogging. Mm-hmm. And then I repurpose everything. So I repurpose all of my blabs. I repurpose all of my Periscope broadcasts and all of my Mevi broadcasts in some capacity. I did a blog post one time about how I repurposed one Periscope broadcast in 15 different ways. So it's very easy to do. You just have to do it. Yeah. And the best of my stuff goes into my membership site, which is $9.99 a month. So I put up the link for that. So that's even though the blabs are always saved on my profile, as this one will, and this one will be on Frank's profile as well, even though they're there, this is kind of like the best of everything. So it's the best Periscope broadcast, the best everything, including templates, worksheets, and other PDFs that I've created, plus a load of tutorials, all of which help people grow and start businesses.
I have to say, you were super duper, incredibly awesomely busy. Like, you know, you're always producing stuff.
I thought you were going to say
so many adverbs. I don't. I was like, what?
Where am I going to go with this? Yeah, you never know, right? This is not my show. This is Frank's, so I get to ask those kind of weird questions, right? But I mean, you really do produce a lot of content. How do you get away from content production burnout? How do you get away from that? Because a lot of people I know suffer from that. They just can't keep up the pace.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And you know what? You are the first person who's ever asked me that. People ask me all the time, oh my God, how do you think of everything you think of, right? So people ask me stuff like that all the time, but nobody's asked me about burnout. So that's very interesting, and kudos for you. So I avoid it because it literally is an outlet for my creativity. So I've always been creative, and teaching was an outlet for my creativity, and now this is. So I'm still teaching. I'm just teaching in a very different capacity than a traditional classroom or, you know, university classroom. So, so it is truly an outlet for that. And if it weren't this, I would be stuck, God forbid, scrapbooking or something. I don't know. And that's just, that can be a really expensive hobby.
All of that discipline of teaching for all those years, I'm sure prepared you for, you know, not getting burned out, because you know what else you could be doing or whatever. So, you know, it's like, this is fun. I'm enjoying myself. And like you were saying before, and I wanted to unpack that before, you were saying, you know, I tried platform number 11, and if that didn't work, I was going to go right on to number 12. So that's the magic formula for success for any entrepreneur or business person. You're going to keep on trying. You're going to keep on working at it until you get to the result that you're trying to get to. Tony Robbins was talking about that here on Blab on the interview last night. So you're going to keep on trying until. Edison didn't give up after his first 500 or 600 attempts on the light bulb, right? If he had, we'd all be worse off. But because
right, I couldn't see you is what would be the situation. Yeah.
Yeah. That's how you get the results, and that's how you're going to get to where you want to go.
Right, that's true. And that's the only difference between a success and failure, guys. You can read all of the self-help books you want, or you can just save your money and listen to what I'm about to say, which is, if you refuse to give up, you will find a way to succeed. Period. See how much money I just saved you? So yeah, I'm rocking the pearls today. Thank you, Anna. I'm rocking them. Yes.
I wanted to bring up these two questions because I know we're running out of time. So I want to comment on the questions from Andre and Mariani in terms of specifics on how you would use this. So the first one is on real estate and lifestyle.
So no agent, in my opinion, right now, is utilizing Blab or Periscope or Meebee or any live streaming platform, in my opinion, right now effectively. I think they could be doing so much more than they're doing. And they don't need to focus on the city in which they live. They absolutely do not. Agents get a referral fee. So why in the world? And you know who I'm speaking to, you agent in St. Louis. Robin, tell her this. I've told her, she's not listening. I said, why in the world would you want to focus on one city? You should be focusing on your skills as an agent. You should focus on highlighting those skills and solidify your place in the global marketplace as an expert in real estate, which she is, in my opinion. Sorry, Robin. And so I'm a very good friend of Robin's, and she knows what I'm talking about.
Robin, you can jump in to defend yourself if you want.
No, it's not her. It's her friend.
Oh, okay.
So, and I said, that's what you should be doing. And that's what the Blab show should be. And then whoever you attract, no matter what city they live in, they're going to look to you for a referral and for help about real estate. So that's what I would do. They know who they are. Exactly, Jonathan. So I would make sure that I went on with a plumber. I would make sure that I went on with a contractor. I would make sure that I went on with a house inspector, because nobody knows a house inspector. Come on. You know house inspectors? I doubt it. Most people do not. Real estate agents have them coming out of the woodwork because they know them all, right? Real estate agents know loads of different people. Oh my God, they have business cards. Holy moly. So I would have a weekly show, and I would have a different person that you need to consult, talk to, hire, whatever, for whatever it is that you need for real estate. I would have that every single week. And some weeks I would have a different agent on, and I would talk about referrals. I would talk about that. Some weeks I would have somebody who does commercial real estate as opposed to residential real estate, et cetera, et cetera.
Look what's happened in traditional media with real estate on shows like Flipping Houses, The Property Brothers. Yep. I mean, that's a real estate agent and a construction guy, and all they do is they go on and they help people, sell their house or remodel their house. Or what's that other one? Flip it or love it, or something like that. Mm-hmm.
Whatever.
My wife and son are addicted to those shows, so I'm seeing more of them because I wouldn't otherwise watch it. And I'm somebody who's interested in real estate, but they are quite interesting. So you got to figure out.
They are very interesting. Yeah.
You got to do like exactly what Bonnie is suggesting, and figure out how do you bring what you do to the world and make it interesting by having interesting guests, having interesting. Because this platform is ideally suited for exactly that. Bring on a contractor, bring on a plumber, bring on a home inspector. The 10 things that you should be looking for when you're buying a home from the perspective of a home inspector: the roof, the boiler, Absolutely. The furnace, all these types of things.
Right. And how do you know truly when a house is radon free? Seriously. Right. Because people are going to say, oh no, it's been fixed. See, look at this fakakta gadget. This means it's fixed.
Right.
What?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or mold or asbestos or termites.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I'm just not going back to that house. That's what that tells me.
Right.
But how would I know if it really is fixed? An agent, a good agent can help me with that.
Exactly.
For landscaping, so I would recommend, and I said this right away with Periscope, I want to see somebody gardening on Periscope. I want to see somebody talking about the soil they use, about the compost that they made. I made my own compost. I used it for gardening.
I just watched The Martian. If you guys haven't seen it with Matt Damon, did you see it?
No.
You didn't see it. So he's got to survive on Mars, and it turns out his character is a botanist. So he's got to take the food that he's got, which, the scene is with potatoes. So he's got to figure out how to grow things on a planet where nothing will grow. So he composts using his own human waste to grow his food. That was interesting. You got to admit that's it.
It works in the movies.
Yeah.
So no. I'm not saying start with Periscope. I'm saying, I said this when I first got on Periscope. All you need to do is bring people on the journey with you. I don't care what that journey is, and I don't care what people you're bringing, and I don't care what live streaming platform you're using, because they all work. They will all work if you use them effectively. But I want to see you gardening. I want to hear about compost. I want to see tools. I want to see tools I absolutely do not need to buy. I want to know the best times of the year to do whatever it is I want to do.
When you plant indoors to get ready for the outdoor season.
I want to know about dealing with those bulbs, which seems to be the biggest pain in the patootie. I can't even imagine that people do that, but they do that. Maybe it's not a pain. I want to know that. Show that to me.
How do I know what's a weed and what's a plant that I should be keeping?
Exactly. I mean, there are endless possibilities. And once again, talking about all of that, yes, you can blab out in the garden. Absolutely. That would be huge. That would be incredible. You could talk about different stones that you incorporate in a garden. It's absolutely endless. You could talk about a butterfly garden. It's endless what you could do.
What's that guy who had the television show? I don't know if it was PBS, but where he would just like draw stuff. He was like a painter or something, and he's like, oh, I'm going to make a happy little cloud. And
I don't know.
He spoke in a way that like it was like a storytelling, but it was very kind of zen and meditative. and people loved it. Jonathan's coming in to shed some light.
Maybe he remembers the painter.
Oh, you lost your sound.
Oh, wait, we can't hear you.
It's Bob Ross. Okay.
Bob
Ross was he painted entire landscapes with like 3 strokes using the color orange, right?
He was really good at trees.
A masterpiece, right? It was ridiculous. I mean, he used like toothpicks and like brushes and stuff, and he come up with this thing, and you're like, how did you do that? And I remember watching him as a kid. It's going like this. He's got like the 70s, Jerry Curl fro thing, right? And he's always like, so what we're going to do today is we're going to paint. And as he was like, you look over it and there's like 3 mountain scenes. And you're like, you did 3 strokes. How did you do that? That's Bob Ross. That's who you're looking for. Right. Anyway, I'm out.
Yeah, exactly. So you can do it with painting and gardening, real estate. You can do it with, anything. I mean, if you're a plumber, there's no end. You just got to figure out how to like bring your story to the screen, right?
Exactly. And you want to take people along the journey with you. And so you need to be thinking, as you're doing all of this, you need to be thinking as a consumer and not as a producer. So for example, when I think about all the different live streaming broadcasts that I do, I'm not thinking as Bonnie. I'm thinking as truly my ideal client avatar, because that's what you should be doing. So that is why when people work with me, when they either coach with me for anything or they're in any of my masterminds, we always start out with the ideal client avatar, because that is exactly the one person that you should be thinking about every single time you produce any content. That's how your content remains consistent. That's how your message remains constant. That's how people will continue to come back again and again, because you're not going to waver. You're not going to be a different person every third Thursday because you are in some weird mood. No, you can be in a weird mood, but you still keep that one person in mind, and your stuff's going to remain constant just the way that people expect it to be.
Right. And the I can't emphasize enough, and Bonnie, I know you talk about this, and a lot of people talk about this, but you've got to use storytelling. You've got to tell your story in a way, and look at good storytellers or great storytellers and figure out how they're doing it. Look at what George Lucas did with Star Wars, or J.J. Abrams did with the new Star Wars. Look at who's the guy who did James Cameron, who did the Matrix and the Titanic. Look how they tell a story. Look at the Coen brothers, right? Look at great television shows. Look at great books that you've read and figure out what's the structure of the story. Read Joseph Campbell's work, okay? And come to understand, how do I craft my story? You're not going to necessarily make the next Star Wars movie or the Matrix or what have you. But when you understand like that there's like a structure to the story, you can sort of match your story of plumbing or gardening or landscaping or real estate or financial advisor or mortgage broker, whatever it is, to a story. And then when you do that, you bring your audience along, because everybody wants to hear a good story.
Right.
Everybody wants
exactly. And stories do. And if you're interested in selling, which I am, stories do sell. I mean, they do. So absolutely. I could sit there and I could just provide a lesson. But that's really not what I want to do, because I wouldn't want to be on the other end of that. And I don't think you want to be on the other end of that either. So, and actually, in my opinion, an easier way to get at that exact same thing that you're talking about is just listening to podcasts. So I subscribe to 25 different podcasts on any given. And so I really do other things besides live streaming. Jonathan had like live streaming all day, every day as the title of this blab. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I do more than that. Now, nobody knows that. Obviously, people like Frank, I should say Frank had it.
I did that. So yeah, Jonathan did that. That was my bad.
Crazy ideas. Like I do nothing but live streaming every day, but I really do other things. That's why I changed the title. Anyway, okay. So I really knew that I wanted to have my own something, whether it be a talk show or a podcast or something, from listening to, oh my God, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of podcasts. And excuse me, yes, Jonathan would have said that. That's true. So, so that's, I think, what helped me in terms of my Blab show. I have a Blab show every Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific. Perhaps you were sleeping. And so I think that's what really helped me. And I think that can help anybody in terms of live streaming, is just to listen to other people tell stories. And that's what people are doing on podcasts. When they're getting asked these questions, they're answering the question, yeah, but there's always a story behind it. There's always a story that gets told. And so in any given half hour, 45-minute, hour podcast, there's a whole bunch of stories that are delivered. And so some are going to be better than others. And so you might want to take note about, oh, this was really ineffective, or this is exactly what I want to do. And then take note of that and listen to more of those again and again and again. I listen to any podcast I listen to at least twice before deleting it. That is anal. I realize that. But I want to make sure that the information gets in to my brain, and I'm not an auditory learner, and I know that. So that's why I listen to it at least twice.
Right. So I am more of a digital learner, so I read. Okay. I read extensively. I read, I've got 40 books like right here on my desk right now. I've got another 20 in my on my nightstand, and I've got a bookshelf right next to my nightstand of all the stuff that I've been meaning to read and haven't got to.
So you prefer an actual book as opposed to that Kindle thing?
I don't like the Kindle thing.
Me either. I don't either, because I want to flip the page. I don't want to slide. I don't want to tap.
No. There is nothing like holding a good book in your hand. I got a bookmark, and here's Joel Combs' book, Twitter Power.
Oh, great.
I've got the 2.0 version, but just like sitting there in your chair, kicking back, and you lose the page.
And you can take notes in it.
Yeah, it's very kinesthetic versus a highlighter. Exactly. For me, and I guess because I'm old, and I don't want to. And I read a lot online. Don't get me wrong. I go to a lot of websites, but if there's a website and it's recommending the book, I don't go and buy the ebook on Amazon. And I know it's more efficient and better and all that good stuff, but I like the feel of it.
No, it's just cheaper. It's not more efficient or better. It's cheaper.
Well, it's more efficient because I could read it then on my phone, my computer, my tablet, wherever I am. So it's more efficient from that perspective, and it's not taking up real estate. Whereas these little suckers, when you have as many books as I do, start taking up a lot of real estate after a while. So,
yeah, but it's not stopping you, is it? So there you go.
No, it's not. So everybody's got a different learning style. Bonnie was just saying she's more auditory. I'm more digital. There's a lot of people.
No, I'm not auditory. That's what I'm saying. I'm not.
I'm more digital. You're more auditory, is what I meant.
I'm not auditory.
Oh, you're not auditory.
I said that twice now. No, I'm not auditory, which is why
I wasn't listening.
Obviously. You're not auditory either, which is why I listen to podcasts at least twice before deleting them, because I don't hear, the information does not get retained barely at all the first time around. And so I have to listen to it at least one more time to get the information.
Yeah, that's and a lot of people are just much more visual, which is why this is such a great platform.
Exactly.
But moreover, this is an even better platform because it's all of them. It's auditory, it's digital, it's kinesthetic, it's everything. You get the replay when you're finished with the Blab. You get the MP4 file for the video. You can upload it to YouTube or whatever you do. The MP3 that you can convert into a podcast, and then if you want to, you can take it somewhere and have them transcribe the whole interview.
Yep, exactly. That's exactly right. I mean, it really is the whole package. And coming soon, and it's supposed to be in a few days, so I don't know what that few means. But hopefully in a few days, we will have the ability to utilize SlideShare or to utilize YouTube videos, to utilize any sort of video situation that we want to within the Blab, which has huge possibilities. I mean, seriously, we never have to leave Blab for anything that we want to do. I mean, that is amazing. So you can have all of your webinars on Blab. You don't have to worry about sending out all of those mailers. You've got your Blab audience.
According to what Sean was saying, on Blab today, you'll be able to take one of these windows where it says open seat. Instead of popping in a question, you'll be able to post a link for either YouTube or SlideShare or GoToWebinar or whatever it is that you're using. And that window will serve as like a separate computer screen that gets broadcast to everybody.
Exactly.
So you can.
I mean, that's huge.
Oh, it's so huge. It's amazing. It's amazing. Just it one-ups everything that they're already doing right. And
right. I mean, just when you think they couldn't figure out something to make it better, they go and do that. So.
And I'm sure they're tracking all the other competitors that are coming along and what they're doing in terms of.
Of course. And I think, people asked about Mevi. Mevi is mevi.com. Frank, can you put it in there? Thank you. And so Frank doesn't really have any coffee in that mug. It's just a prop, in case you're wondering.
I actually do not have any coffee. That's tea. I'm a tea drinker.
Oh,
I used to drink coffee and it bothered my stomach too much, so I switched to tea.
And now it's much better. Now you're a teetotaler.
I am actually a teetotaler as well. I don't drink alcohol.
So Mevi is the newest platform that's been around for about 24 days. And in one of the next updates of Mevi, they are incorporating a split screen. So that means that just the way Frank and I are right now, you can do on Mevi, which is like what everybody wants to be doing on Periscope and can't, is basically it. So at first glance, Mevi looks like Periscope. It is not. It has a lot of other things that Periscope does not, split screen being just one of them. But on Mevi, they also have private groups. So like Frank and I could start a private group and we could have Jonathan in it if you paid us enough money. We could have Leland in it just because we like him. We'd let him in free. We could have, anyone we wanted could be in our group. And then whoever was in our group, we would message people back and forth. Did he just put a GIF in? I have to go down.
Yeah. Coffee GIF.
Oh, okay. We could message people back and forth. We could provide live video just for people in our group. So that is a really cool thing. And that's different, very, very different from Periscope's private scopes. It's totally different. The messaging alone is really very compelling, I think. The fact that Mevi has these things coming out, of course, makes people want to step up their game. And then there's going to be the next one, and then the next one, right? So they're all a little bit different. They all offer a little bit something different. The only thing they have in common, guys, is they are all live broadcasting. That's it. And it's not as though one is better than the other. What you ask 5 people, they're going to give you 17 different opinions on why one is better than the other. That doesn't matter. It's how you want to use them and where your audience is and what is best for you and, in my opinion, your business. That's what makes one better than the other. I use 3 platforms. None of them is better than the other, in my opinion.
And like Bonnie was saying earlier, she tried 10 different platforms before she got to Periscope. And then within a week, started making money with Periscope. So that's where she stuck and hung out and was comfortable with and started building a business and was very comfortable and would have stayed there until Blab came out, but started using that and obviously got good results there, which is why she's blessing her with our presence here on Blab. Right?
You are very fun to blab with.
Oh, thanks. I like to have a good time. So I want to respect your time because I know you have like 25 other blabs to get to this afternoon, right?
Well, 3,500 in a minute. I'm way behind schedule. Damn it. My God.
I'm happy to stay on and continue for as long as you want, but I just want to give you the opportunity because we've been on for about an hour and 20 minutes here. And I don't know if
I'm okay with whatever. If people have other questions or if people want to pop on, I'm okay. But if people aren't going to ask questions or people aren't going to pop on, then my thing is I might as well leave. So, right? It's kind of like having a Q&A session with no cues. There's not very much point. So, Right. So Mariani asked, do you have an option which platform might be good for us? Oh, okay. So so that is a good question. But what you have to know first, and I know this is not the answer you want. You want me to give you an answer of a platform, which I won't. But the answer is you have to know your audience. And in order to know your audience, you have to know that one person I referred to. You have to know your ideal client avatar, right? Frank cannot possibly create a complex for athletes unless he knows who in the world is going to consume that product. Now, I know because I've been to a bunch all over the United States for basketball.
I'm sure you have.
Yeah. So I know that. But for him to create that, he's got to figure that out. And every single time he produces a commercial, an ad, a brochure, he's got to be thinking about that one consumer every single time. That goes the same with you, Mr. Mariani. So you need to be thinking about your ideal client avatar. And if you don't know who that is, that's what you need to figure out first. Because you need to figure out so much. You need to know so much about that one person that you literally know where they would be hanging out online. It's not rocket science. If it were, I wouldn't be here. I don't know how to do rocket science.
And if you don't know which one and that didn't help, then go on one at a time and figure out what you're good at and comfortable in developing and what's converting to sales for you. So if you go onto Periscope and it's not working for you, then maybe you need to be on Blab or maybe you need to be on Mevi, but keep putting the effort in to one of them, build out a platform on one platform and see if it works. And if it doesn't, you're getting no traction, then add something else and keep trying until you get the result. That's the key.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And for me, I thought that I knew where my ideal client was, but I needed to work more on my ideal client avatar. And it wasn't until I got a lot closer to that 14-month mark that I actually had it figured out. So might I have had success on one of the other 10 platforms at the 14-month mark? I don't know. Maybe, or maybe it would have just taken me longer. But I do know that I found my people on Periscope. I do know that. They were there and they were ready. And so were the people on Blab and Mevi. So, and also what I do all the time is if people have questions, you can always DM me on Twitter. So you can direct message me on Twitter. I put in my Twitter link. I'm Bonnie L. Frank all over the place. So feel free to DM me and ask me a question and I'll be more than happy to help you out. I do that all the time. Also, if you want to, you can go to my website and I put the link in there and you can always sign up for a 20-minute free consultation. And during that time, you tell me a little bit about your business and then I give you my opinion of what would be the next best steps to take in your business to move your business forward the way that you want to.
Okay, so again, for the video, BonnieLFrank.com. You can find Bonnie. You can find her handle on Twitter at Bonnie L. Frank. You're on Blab and everywhere. It's at Bonnie L. Frank. So follow her on Twitter, Blab, Mevi. Are you going to be doing Facebook Live? Or you're not on there yet, you said.
I would love to. I have not had that opportunity. I don't have Facebook Live. So a bunch of other people do, but I don't have it yet. So yeah, I mean, I would love to try it out. Do I know that I'll be using it every day? Oh, shut up, Jonathan. Do I know that I'll be using it every day? I don't know yet. I need to see what I think of it and how it works for me. And my thing is, I'm all about efficiency and being effective. So even though, brag some more, H2 Jennings. So Frank, even though he said I'm like way busy and he used, 15 different adverbs in that one sentence, I'm not as busy as you think I am. Yes, I do between 30 and 35 live streaming broadcasts every single week. Yeah, I do. Yes, I'm on live streaming and all over social media 7 days a week. Okay, but I do that because all my money comes from live streaming. I mean, So I wouldn't be doing that otherwise. If my money were coming from Facebook, I would be spending probably about the same amount of time on Facebook.
Yes.
But having said that, I don't lose sleep. I really don't on a regular basis. I never miss any of my kids' basketball games. We always eat together. So there's a bunch of stuff besides live streaming that my life is filled with. So I don't want you to think that you have to do what I'm doing. No, unless you were making your living doing what I'm doing, I would never suggest you do that. That would be stupid. I mean, it would be stupid. So, and if you want to try live streaming, try one platform. Try it. And try it 10 days in a row before saying no to it. Please. Yes. Because people tend to dip their toe in a live streaming platform and then run like the hills when something happens. And Frank, if you would have done that, you would have never gone on Jonathan's show. You would have never started your own show, and I would have never met you. So see what an awful thing that would be.
Absolutely. And so, again, follow Bonnie on Twitter and Blab and everywhere else. You can follow me at Frank Clark Coach here on Blab as well as on Twitter. If you want to learn more about what I do in my coaching and consulting, go to frankclarkcoaching.com, and I will send you my dozen best books for entrepreneurs, as well as a couple of outstanding Blab interviews that I did on influence and persuasion with best-selling author, excuse me.
Getting all choked up.
Yeah, with best-selling author Dave Lacani, and another one that I did with negotiation expert Chris Voss. So
nice.
Just opt in on my page at Frank Clark Coach.
Oh, that's great. And I have a page on my website, I just put in again, that has a list of podcasts. If you're interested in podcasts and you're not sure where to start, it's a great list to start with, and then also some starter biz books.
By the way, because you mentioned you love to be efficient, effective, and the most productive possible, I have to mention the Blab that I'm doing on Friday, and actually the next 2 Fridays in a row. I've got 2 outstanding efficiency experts coming on who are all about like life hacking and productivity tips. So one is a guy by the name of Ray Sidney Smith. He runs the largest Getting Things Done meetup group here in New York City. And I had him on a panel conversation this month at a meetup that I do in New York City. You definitely want to tune in for that. Ray Sidney Smith.
Why don't you put the link in?
I will do that right now.
Silly.
Yeah, you're much better at this stuff than me, Bonnie. I'm still learning.
You got to do it. You got to have it at the ready.
I got to have it ready. You're right. And then, okay, so there's the link for Ray Sidney Smith. And then the following Friday, I'm going to be doing an interview. I'm looking for the link right now with Ari Meisel, who was also on that panel. And that's the following Friday at 1:15.
So guys, when he puts these links in, or when anybody puts any link in Blab, it is a live link. So I've already subscribed to that Ray Sidney Smith one. So now I'm going to subscribe to the other one. So you can click and you can subscribe. Oh, look at that. I'm person number 2. So you can click on it and you can subscribe right there without losing your place. And you don't have to be at the Blab. If you're like, well, I can't be at there at that time, that's okay. Go ahead and subscribe, and then you get the replay sent to you. So you can still get the content, and it is literally handed to you via your inbox.
And then I should definitely mention, because Tim was in here earlier, I'm going to be interviewing Tim Gillette on February 3rd, and I'm going to paste that link here as well. So I've got a lot of stuff coming up here on Blab. I've got about 5 or 6 others on there. I don't want to mention them all, but follow me on Blab, and you can learn about all the Blabs that I'm going to be doing. Because I'm going to be doing.
Anita asked, do they still send the replay? She hasn't been getting them. Okay, so Anita, number 1, they send the replay to the email that you use to sign up. So the email that is attached to your Blab, which is probably attached to your Twitter, that's where they send it. If you have Gmail, you need to check your spam, because maybe they're all in there. Because I'm telling you, they send them. I mean, like clockwork, they send them. Just a few moments after the Blab is finished, you will get it in your email. So you need to double check that. And if you've checked absolutely everywhere and you know for a fact you're not getting them, then I'm not going to put it in here because I would be like tagging them. then you need to tweet that. You need to direct message them at Blab Team or at Blab, and they will respond to you.
And I'd be in error here if I didn't mention the Blab I'm doing with Jonathan Tripp, who was on earlier on February 15th. So I got to give a big shout out to Jonathan. He's my first Blab buddy. So that's February 15th. I just posted that in the chat as well. Great.
Yeah, that's how I met you, was on Jonathan's Blab.
Yep. I think I lurked on your show a couple of times, but I was spending more time on Jonathan and got to know him first better. So
well, he is nicer, so and he has better hair.
But you're much better looking.
Oh, thank you. Yes, well, So yes, Jonathan, absolutely. That is very, very true.
I didn't know that. I think I didn't make you a co-host yet, Jonathan, so you may not have been notified. It's a comment. And then Jonathan and I are going to actually be working together on Friday. We're helping to produce a conference with Lori Webb, who did the big Blab event and also was our partner in Startup Con Live. So we're managing an event that, with Zeph Zan, who was also our partner on Startup Con Live. And one of her guests from Startup Con Live is doing a Blab on Friday, a Blab conference, I should say, about entrepreneurship. And then separately, I don't know if you know Hillary Steele, but she's doing a big 24-hour Blab. Are you familiar? Are you aware of that? So that's coming up February 16th. So you guys want to check that out because that should be a big deal. And then finally, I'm going on and on here. Startup Con Live 2016. We should be good to go about mid-March, and we'll be getting more information about that. If you're interested in businesses and startups, we had a phenomenal conference in December where we interviewed 18 people over the course of 3 days. And we did that with a team that didn't know each other 2 weeks earlier. I mean, I kind of knew Jonathan, but we hadn't worked on anything like this. So in 2 weeks, we put together a 3-day conference that was very professional, and we got a lot of kudos and compliments on that. And the Blab team liked what we did there. So we're going to be doing that again.
Oh, great.
So I want to say a huge thank you to Bonnie for sticking around so long and giving such great content. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate you, Bonnie, and what you're doing out here for the Blab community, for the live stream community. I kid you around all the work that you're doing, but you really bust your butt to make life better for everybody who's out here trying to figure this stuff out.
Thanks.
So thank you. Thank you for all you do for people, especially the newbies, because I know, it's like teaching 5th grade again sometimes, probably, because you're answering the same question 100 times. Like, what's the best platform to be on?
But you know what? It's the first time for them. So it's totally okay. And I would much rather answer that same question a whole bunch of times than just say, oh, I've answered that before, I'm not going to answer it, because I know that somebody else isn't going to answer it as well as I am. I know that. I know that they're not going to spend the time and the energy on that particular question, especially, that they should. And there's a lot of misinformation out there. And, being an entrepreneur is not an easy gig. It's just not. And it can be really overwhelming. It can be really confusing. It can cause depression. And that's why most people quit, let's face it. Yeah. And I don't want that to happen. It doesn't happen with any of my clients. So, I don't want it to. So anytime that I can spend helping somebody alleviate that situation, I'm all for it.
Well, we definitely appreciate it. And thank you so much again to all you do. To you for all you do. Because it really helped me when I was getting started, come up the curve. And I'm still learning from you all the time.
Oh, well, thank you. That's very sweet. And I can't get over Jonathan's gif over there.
I know. What the hell?
About the hair.
What's that got to do with anything?
Because I said he has better hair than I do.
So at this point, I'm going to say thank you, and I'm going to pause the recording. We'll keep talking in the little after-party chat if people still have questions or want to talk, but I am going to stop the recording here now. Thanks, everybody, for watching, and please be sure to follow Bonnie and subscribe to the blabs that we've posted here in the chat. All right, thanks. Bye-bye.